all been doing your study on the concept of identity. So you probably are all experts on it, and I do not need to refresh your memory, but just in case you don't know, identity is basically the qualities and beliefs that an individual has that makes up that person to make them who they are, to make them different. So basically, it means like whatever makes you you. So if you're tall, you're short, whatever it is, that's your identity. Every part of yourself is your identity. So for the purpose of my speech today, I'd like you guys just to think rhetorically to yourself, maybe about one or two adjectives that you identify yourself with. For me, I'll be talking about kind of how I'm an outgoing, talkative person who loves to express their emotions and feelings and whatnot. So I am here today to discuss the concept of identity through a psychological lens. And as Ms. Lawson introduced me as, my name is Malson Tremaine. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I am in public speaking currently, and I'm also in AP Psychology. No means am I an expert, but I have been learning a lot about like the different psychological lens of personality and specific to identity, not just like the general concept of identity, but like the personality traits that different psychologists view to say someone is a certain way, which it'll make more sense once I kind of get into it. But to start off, I'm going to clear up what an introvert and what an extrovert is, just in case you don't know, because I'm going to be using these terms a lot throughout the presentation. So an extrovert, I identify myself as an extrovert, and you'll see that, is someone who enjoys being around people. They're typically very outgoing, talkative, and the main part of being an extrovert is that they thrive off of being around other humans. And an introvert is someone who doesn't really enjoy being around people as much, but they're more of a reserved type personality. They like to kind of spend time alone, and they thrive off of being alone versus being with people. And there's like no means like one's better than the other, but there's definitely a clear difference between extrovert and introvert. So you guys probably, I think you guys learned the psychodynamic lens, correct? No, you did not. Okay, that's fine. So basically, psychodynamic is a type of, there's many different views that a psychologist looks through. And some people think of psychology as someone who's like a therapist. And a psychologist is not really a therapist, more of like a scientist. And that type of science, there's scientists, and you can be like a scientist who looks more into biology or chemistry or physics. Well, it kind of works the same way. With a psychologist, they have psychodynamic, humanistic, and social psychologists. And to start off, I'm going to be talking about a psychodynamic psychologist whose name is Sigmund Freud. A psychodynamic psychologist is a type of psychologist who focuses mainly on the unconscious and subconscious part of the brain, which those sound like very big terms, but really all it is the part of your brain, the part of what makes you you, that you don't know about right now, basically. Like consciously, you are not aware of it. So it's the beliefs, the desires you have that you aren't conscious of currently. So Freud, he may say that I'm an extrovert because when I was a small child, I have older cousins and an older brother who kind of overpowered me, and I wasn't able to express myself, and this lack of opportunity to receive attention now that I'm older has developed into me being an extrovert because I love talking to people, and now I'm kind of making up for that lost time. Well, did you guys read Lord of the Flies? Yes, you read Lord of the Flies. So Piggy may be considered an introvert because by his whole life he was made fun of for his appearance. He's not like the normal looking kid maybe. So he had to repress these feelings of sadness or how he really felt because everybody used to make fun of him. So that's something that maybe Sigmund Freud would say about me and Piggy. So another psychodynamic psychologist is Jung. And Jung kind of came up with this theory that may seem a little obvious to you and me, but back then it wasn't too obvious. and it's called the opposing tendencies theory. So opposing tendencies theory is basically if you're in one way, you're not the other. So for instance, maybe you like to play sports and exercise and be active, then you're not lazy. Or the opposite. If you're lazy, then you don't like to play sports and exercise, so on and so forth. So I don't like being alone, therefore I like being with people, which means I'm an extrovert. That's basically what he would say about me, which you may seem a little bit obvious, but back then it really wasn't. I don't know if you guys have read Of Mice and Men. I tried to use references that you would know, but he may say that Lenny is an extrovert as well, because I was kind of on the fence if he would be an extrovert or an introvert. I did read the text like 2 years ago, so I was a little, didn't remember all of it, but I would say because he likes, even though he has social anxiety because of his disorder, he doesn't like being alone. He likes being with George and likes the company of other people. So I would say because he likes the company of other people, he is an extrovert, which is what Carl Jung would say. So the next type of psychologist I'll be talking about is humanistic. And humanistic is the type of psychologist that kind of looks at like the subconscious, unconscious, and conscious as a whole. Like looks at the whole person rather than the subconscious and the subconscious and the unconscious. It looks at like a person as a whole. So Alport may say that my love for people relates to extroversion, which is an essential part of my personality. So he kind of categorized parts of a personality by what's important and what's not important. So me being an extrovert is an important part of my personality because I love being around people, I love talking, and without that part of my personality, I wouldn't be who I am today. I don't know if you've ever heard of the show Parks and Rec, one of my favorite shows. But Leslie Knope is a very, very kind character in the show, and she's constantly helping others in the community, which is a trait that is affected by her actions. Therefore, it's an essential part of her personality as well, because without this kindness, she wouldn't be an active member in her community, constantly helping out people on a daily basis. So he may say that she has a kind part of her personality. And then the final the final type of psychology I'll be discussing is a social psychologist, which is my favorite type of psychologist. And you have Albert Bandura, and he would say that I'm an extrovert because when I was younger, I liked going to parties, I liked spending time with my friends, and because of that social aspect, I would be considered an extrovert. You may say that Harry Potter is an introvert because when he was little, he was pulled from this environment with his mom and dad because they died, and put into somewhere where he feels repressed, and because of that social environment, he wasn't able to express his feelings. Therefore, he has introverted qualities. And the final two types of psychology that aren't specifically related to a certain type of psychologist, but kind of just generally discuss is family dynamics. So I would be considered an extrovert through a family dynamic lens because my identification with a larger family creates a very social environment. Everybody likes to talk in my family. So that social environment caused me to kind of follow in that path and become an extrovert. Well, Joey Tribbiani, his family maybe didn't put enough importance on school, and because of that, kind of has this unintelligent quality. If you've ever seen Friends, he's not the smartest character. But because academics were never prioritized in his family, he kind of led into this path where he wasn't always the smartest kid, which kind of goes back again to the family dynamics and what's important in the family and what's not important in the family. And finally, you have gender influences. So I think for gender influences, the increase of women's rights and the increase of popular women's the increase of women's rights has basically led to to women being able to be more outgoing and social rather than before when women were kind of repressed and had to be kind of introverted. But because of gender influences, I would consider myself an extrovert because women are not as repressed as they used to be. As well as Hillary Clinton, I kind of just use kind of the same example because Hillary Clinton is so strong in pro-women's rights. She's become an outspoken, outgoing woman for the community. So she's an extrovert because she's able to like express her emotions because of like the gender current day equality. So basically, what I hope you guys took from my speech is that different psychologists, different views, different lenses, you can look at something as broad as identity or personality or yourself and look at it through the perspective of many different views. And I hope that you guys can apply this to your text that you're reading now